Attention business owners, have you developed a training program for your employees? If you haven't, you may be losing a lot of money, probably a lot more than you realize. Kevin, we're your Action Business Coach. And so one of the things that we want to focus in on today is to how to develop an effective training program for your employees. Now, the first thing that we have to look on is why. Why would we want to develop a comprehensive training program for our employees? And I'll give you this great illustration. There's a story of a gentleman who was presenting to an audience of business owners, and he was going through about developing training programs and how much they cost and what this all means. And one of the business owners raised their hand and said, "Excuse me, I have a question." And the speaker goes, "Yes." And he goes, "What you're asking of me is to spend untold thousands of dollars training employees. My question is, what if I spend all of this money and they leave to go to my competition?" And the speaker goes, "Yeah, that's certainly possible, but let me ask you this. What if you don't train them and they stay?" Ouch. Yeah, you're going to be losing a lot of money if you don't train them and they stick around. So that's one of the biggest whys of why would we want to develop a training program and invest all of that money. There's study after study after study that shows a direct correlation between employee training and development and profitability in a business. The more money and more time that you spend training your employees, the higher level of profitability that you get in your business. It's just literally a perfect, it's very clearly shown in lots and lots of studies out there. So now let's talk a little bit about how would you develop a training program for your employees in your business. So the first thing we need to do is what I call the skill assessment gap. There's 3 steps in the skill assessment gap. Number 1, what are all of the skills that an employee would need to execute on a job description for their position? So you take a look at all the job descriptions in your business and ask yourself, what does each employee would need to have to be 100% effective in that job? The second thing is then you would take a look at the current skill sets of your employees in those particular positions. And then the third thing is, okay, what is the gap? So let's say that the standard is 100% knowledge in this job description and the average is about 60% for your current employees. So you've got a 40% gap between what's in the job description for all the skills necessary and the actual skills of the employee. So now, once we know what that gap is, the second thing is to develop a training process and or programs for all of those positions. Now, this may seem very daunting, but if you break it out into component parts, it's not that difficult. For the first thing we need to take a look at is what type of training is necessary for that position. Or is it going to be technical training? Do these employees need to have particular technical skills imparted into them? Now, there may be some that they have non-technical skills that they need to totally and completely understand. That goes along with the technical skills or is totally separate. So technical versus non-technical. Next, we need to go the methodology of how are we going to deliver that training. And we know that communication is made up of visual training, audio training, and kinesthetic training. So some training is going to need to be lecture. Some training is going to necessarily need to have video, pictures or whatever. And a lot of training is going to be kinesthetic, hands-on. You can't just do 1 or 2 of the 3. All 3 need to be integrated into some form of training. And then the other decision on that would be, are we going to use inside people or outside people? Sometimes we need to bring outsiders in to train employees because there's a lot of outsiders that probably have knowledge that you inside of your company don't have. Now, you also may use inside people, people who are very knowledgeable and need to have a process to train those individuals to execute. So now, if we decide to use inside people, we now need to go to the next step is train the trainer. Just because some of your senior people may have a lot of skill sets, they may not understand how to actually be an effective trainer. So the first thing on train the trainer is the knowledge itself. Do they have the appropriate knowledge? And does that knowledge fit with where you want to train these employees? Because maybe you might have somebody very knowledgeable, but the way they do things is not the way you want things done in your company. So number one is knowledge. Number two is presentation. How will they be? Are they effective presenters? Are they trainers who can engage an audience? Or are they going to be the drone masters, the monotone sort of people who nobody really wants to listen to? How do we get these presentation skills improved? And the third is the soft skills. Do they understand how to work with people and get the most out of the training so that these people who are being trained are getting the most out of their trainers? These trainers know the soft skills in interaction with their audience. So knowledge, presentation, and soft skills for train the trainer. The fourth area is then program execution. We have to look at two major things in program execution. Number one, participation. What's the participation rate of our audience? Are the trainees actually showing up? Because even if you mandate training, some people have a very creative way of getting out of training. So we have to measure participation. The second thing we have to do is measure effectiveness. How effective is the training being integrated, and is it making a difference? Here's a good example. Sales training. Let's say you do sales training for your salespeople. You should be measuring conversion rates improvements, average dollar sale improvements on the sales. Or it could be, if it's a technical position, the quality control. Let's see if our quality control ratios are starting to come in line with what you want going out of your business. And then finally, the fifth area of developing a training program is the ongoing program. You can't just do this once or twice and call it good. Training is an ongoing process. You have to consistently invest and have people participate in ongoing training. So we need to take a look at an annual training programs. What do those annual training programs look like? And that means that you should be scheduling training protocols, training seminars, training workshops at least 12 months in advance so that you can get people to know what's coming down the pipe and what they need to be prepared for. You can't just spring training in a random fashion that says, oh geez, we need to do training on X. It has to be a continual programmed process of training that is ongoing. When you get your business into the habit of never-ending training, you're going to have skill sets drilled deep into your employee population. That's going to result in improved productivity. That's going to mean extra profit for you, the business owner. So take a look at those elements and start looking at how you can develop a training program. Now, if you want somebody like us from Outsiders to do training in both management and sales, we can do that for you. If you're interested, click below, sign up for a 15-minute conversation with yours truly, and we'll see what we can do as the outside trainers to help you in training your employees. Go out there, get your employees trained, make more profit.